My soon-to-be ex-wife's infidelity was exposed about 7 months ago. I went through a lot of emotions, including heartbreak, denial, pain, and pygmy attempts. I was severely depressed for a long time. I never confronted her because I was a complete mess. I assumed she knew, but I guess she just didn't care. About 2 or 3 months ago, I decided I was done with everything, with her, with the marriage, and no longer cared. I checked out of the relationship. I went to great lengths to prepare for my divorce and the new life that would follow. I avoided my wife whenever possible, avoided being in her house when she was there, avoided answering her questions with anything other than yes, maybe, or I'm not sure. I even left the bills for the divorce attorney out in the open, so she must have known I was getting a divorce. The kids even asked me about it so they could see what was going on. I even gave the "we both love you" speech, telling them that it was their fault, but that adults couldn't. My wife was in the room the whole time, and I assumed she heard me talking to the kids since she didn't say anything. However, just recently, I had an awkward encounter with a girl I knew from school who I had a crush on before I met my wife. We had this chemistry, this tension, and we were always touching and flirting, but we never did anything about it. Let's call her Monica because she looks like Monica Bellucci. Unfortunately, Monica's family moved away before I mustered up the courage to do anything about our chemistry. I now deeply regret that decision. I had not given Monica much thought since I was a young, timid, and naive person. It had been years since we had last seen each other, and the tension between us was stronger than I remembered. Despite this, we were able to communicate easily, and she even asked me out on a date. I told her about my soon-to-be ex-wife and how I wanted to be legally separated before dating again. I assured her that I would not cheat on her. In gratitude, she gave me her number and instructed me to call her as soon as I finished my errands. Informing her that she had never tied the knot and was overjoyed to reconnect with me piqued my interest even more. This encounter served as a catalyst for me to approach my wife and initiate the process of our separation and divorce. I returned home, sat down, and drank like a fish out of water as I waited for her. I informed her that I assumed she knew, especially since I had distanced myself from our relationship for the previous 3 months. She didn't appear to mind that I no longer cared, so I told her I wanted to start dating and move on. I finished my speech by saying that, considering everything, it's time for us to divorce. Her reaction caught me off guard. She started crying, not like normal crying but a desperate kind of crying, and she started making excuses like asking for a second chance, saying that the affair was pointless, and suggesting that we try counseling to fix things. I was surprised because I thought she would be happy. I told her that she could be with this guy without guilt, and she clearly values him more than me. I told her that she could have fixed our family or marriage 7 months ago before she had the affair. Now it's too late. Our marriage is broken beyond repair. I don't think we had any problems in our marriage. She didn't tell me anything, and I'm not a mind reader, so I couldn't fix whatever it was. There must have been something seriously wrong if she was prepared to bring our children up in an unstable environment from that point on. I calmly and clearly explained that she has been unable to stop this guy for the past 7 months, and that the pain and suffering she caused has left me feeling either indifferent or even hateful toward her. I'm just trying to be civil so that we can co-parent our children in the future. I told her that I didn't believe she cared about me because no one who truly cares about another person would betray them in such a way. Her words, "I love you," have no weight because her actions speak louder than words. She started to get completely lost and confused, and I had to call her sister because I couldn't bear to take care of her any longer. After I explained what was going on, her sister came over. She took her away when they left, and I felt a tremendous sense of relief, like I could finally breathe after 7 months of struggling. I don't know what I'm seeking here, but I feel like she must have wanted this outcome all along. She's gorgeous and smart, and our marriage was great until she started having an affair. I've accepted the changes in my life and moved on, but now she acts as if she loves me and wants us to. I live in Europe, so she wouldn't receive alimony or any other form of compensation if we were to divorce. I have plenty of evidence of her infidelity, but I don't know why she's causing such a big fuss. Is she afraid I'll expose her? Maybe she wants me to feel sorry for her so I won't tell anyone about her cheating. Either way, I don't see how she's getting what she wants from this. I needed to get this off my chest, and I was hoping it would make more sense when I put it into writing, but I'm just as confused as when I started. According to the Lincoln cult, you should tell his wife that he's been unfaithful to her. They see it as a way to show respect for a kindred spirit whose soul has been crushed by infidelity. Telling her will hurt her, but she'll probably be grateful in the end. Regarding the kids, I think it's important for you to prioritize being a good father. No matter how painful it is, you shouldn't let them see that their mother has ruined you. They're smart and they'll figure it out. If you don't be the best dad you can be for them, you'll regret it. As for Monica, she sounds awesome, and she gets what you're going through. It's great that you're not rushing into anything, but there's clearly a significant variable influencing you two seem to have wonderful chemistry and a history of being patient with each other, so why not? If you don't, you'll come to regret it. Lastly, dude, you don't owe anyone an explanation or apology for how you handled this. It's heartbreaking to realize that your trust has been so badly broken due to your marriage. Lost and then faced with the enormous abyss that is your wife's betrayal of her family. You were absolutely right to suspect that she was intentionally tearing her own family apart. The OP replies, "Thank you for your advice. I'm considering telling the wife of my affair partner. I also appreciate your advice on the kids. I was already very focused on this. The kids will have it tough, but I will do all I can to be there for them whenever they need me." I wanted to start by saying how much I appreciate everyone's support. The response to my post from 3 days ago was overwhelming, and I apologize for not being able to respond to everyone. However, I did my best to read through all of the messages and posts. When I woke up the next morning, I had a much clearer head and a fascinating keyboard pattern on my face. I decided to make lists both for and against the main points, and I hung a bunch of papers on the wall. My goal was to figure out what core principles I wanted to implement and what the most important things to focus on. I went through each of them and determined if I could achieve anything meaningful from them and what a meaningful outcome would be if I did. My children are my top priority. The final document is too large to retype here, so I'll just highlight some of the key points. I will make it a point to support them more by scheduling individual and family counseling, organizing trips so we can spend more quality time together and make new memories, reaching out to my extended family for love and support, speaking with their teachers and coaches, and getting a ST test and DNA testing for the kids. I want to make sure they have a strong support system both immediately and in the long run. Being mine makes me feel uneasy, but I feel compelled to find out for their sake. Maybe there's some medical history they should know about. What if they want to talk to their biological father when they're older? How will they see me if I don't take action now to confirm they're mine? I'll be anxious until I hear otherwise. After I spoke with their therapists alone, they came in and we explained everything in detail, let them ask questions, and I kept telling them that I want them to know that they can always lean on me, that they are loved above all else, and that I will be there for them no matter what. As for my marriage, I came to the realization that I could never trust my wife again. Trust is a foundational element of any healthy relationship, and I also came to the realization that I no longer love my wife. I no longer have fond feelings for the person she has become. My feelings for her were once strong, but she ruined them with her affair. Maybe I can learn to love her again, but I will need to overcome my fears and doubts. Divorce is inevitable, and I want to finalize it as quickly as possible. I spoke to Monica extensively about my concerns, which are based on the feedback I received, but I still do not want to stay in this marriage or continue our relationship. I no longer want her, and the part of me that loved her, the part that used to feel boundless joy and happiness whenever I thought about her, is now filled with dread and painful memories. I read it and thought maybe it wasn't a good idea to start a new relationship. I also didn't want to drag her into my current mess, and let's be honest, my life is a complete mess. She disagreed, saying that life is messy and that we should figure out how to deal with it together. While we were dating, I found out that she was engaged, but her fiancé died unexpectedly in a workplace accident nearly 5 years ago. It devastated her, and despite going on a few dates, she had not been able to connect with anyone. It's important to seize opportunities when they come, but I don't want to start anything until the divorce is finalized. I also don't want to cheat while we're technically married, and she understands and respects that. We talked about the potential consequences of becoming public figures, and she said she doesn't want to be portrayed as the home wrecker. I agreed, and will wait until the divorce is official before doing anything. I'm very attracted to Monica, and this phone call is almost emotional for me. Therefore, I will not communicate with her again until the legal separation is finalized. We agreed that I would take care of my affairs and get in touch with her when I was prepared to discuss the next steps. When preparing for my meeting with my wife, I made a list of principles that guide my behavior. I vowed to be the man I always wanted to be, calm, kind, and focused on our shared goal of moving forward with our divorce. The aim was to be able to co-parent our children to the best of our abilities. I made sure to ask her plenty of questions to get to the bottom of her affair and her intentions going forward. I refused to trick her or give her false hope that we could work things out so that we could get a postnuptial agreement or some sort of benefit and divorce. In the end, I decided to be as fair as possible by dividing our assets equally and having 50-50 custody, despite how badly she treated me. I will not let her be an example for me. Instead, I will act in a way that allows me to stand by my choices now and in the future. Looking back on our 20-year marriage, I will hate her for everything she did to me, my husband, and our children. But I will always hold dear the memories of the wonderful times we had together. And I will always love our children, whom we brought into this world. Keeping this hatred inside me does not constitute cheating, so I will forgive her. I truly believe that we had a wonderful marriage. So, I went to see my ex-wife on Saturday after my sister warned me that she looked terrible. Sony had bloodshot eyes, a swollen face, and unkempt hair. She appeared much smaller than I remembered, as if she had imploded. Before she cheated, we made love every day, spent a lot of quality time together, rarely argued, and willingly sacrificed for each other. I was actually very open with her before I found out about her infidelity. I believe she was also open with me, but her current actions suggest otherwise. It's clear from her expression that she isn't acting. I've seen her cry. We sat down, and my wife started shaking uncontrollably. Surprisingly, I felt surprisingly relaxed. I felt her obvious pain, but not as a loving spouse. It was like watching a movie with an actor. I guess I no longer love her. I sat there, waiting for her to gather herself enough to speak. She started multiple times, but then broke down in tears. I've been through a lot, but nothing like this. It's funny how some people can pretend to cry, but no one can pull off the look of constant, debilitating sobbing for an entire week. When she finally spoke, it was like a dam had burst. She apologized for everything she said. Surprisingly, her sister also started crying, trying to make excuses or place the blame on me, and occasionally berating her. It became apparent that her sister had warned her about this, apparently, and this is how her sister lost her fiancé a year ago. I had no clue that her sister's infidelity had triggered my wife's midlife crisis. She started fantasizing about cheating all the time and finally gave in. It seems she was so enamored with the guy that she couldn't resist, and she never considered the consequences or that anyone would be hurt. It was a purely selfish act. She seemed content in our marriage and convinced herself that she deserved this affair. If I had known how happy she was at the time, I might have approved of her decision. She had falsely believed that her affair would come to an end and that we could all go back to our happy family lives. I broke the news to her about a month and a half ago, and when the initial shock wore off, she gave me her phone to check. She had blocked him, but when I unblocked him, messages from the past month and a half started flooding in, indicating that she had been attempting to re-engage me in our relationship. Marriage, but I hadn't shown any interest until I sat down with her. She was sure we could work things out and come out stronger. When I confronted her, she saw that this was probably going to be the end of the line. The reality hit her like a ton of bricks. I tried to probe her with questions mostly about her rationale for harming us and our children. Basically, she's acting selfishly. As many of you have pointed out, I've come to realize that the answers I seek do not exist. I will never receive an acceptable explanation for cheating, but I did find closure in an unusual way. I was able to express my deepest feelings of hurt and pain at her hands, and I managed to convince her that our marriage had failed because of her infidelity. This made me feel a strange sense of peace, and she had researched extensively on how to repair a broken marriage after infidelity. She even had a detailed confession timeline ready to give me, but I never read it. I just handed it to her. She pleaded with my lawyer for another chance, saying she would do anything I asked her. I told her I didn't believe a word she said because I don't trust her. Finally, she asked what she could do to fix it. I told her she broke it herself, so how can she expect me to help? We went back and forth asking how she would respond if she were in my shoes. Eventually, she admitted that she probably wouldn't forgive either of us if the tables were turned. I informed her that I had taken a STI test and would be conducting DNA tests on the children. She sobbed for approximately 20 minutes after hearing this. She adamantly claimed that this was the only instance of her cheating or inappropriate behavior. After some resistance, she finally admitted that I should not believe her. She went on to say that if she were in my shoes, she would likely act similarly. I inquired as to whether the fair partner's wife knew. She said no, but admitted that she deserved to know. I asked if she would tell her or if I should, and whether we should consider reconciling. She vowed to never be with anyone else and would never give up on getting back with me no matter what, so I said nothing. By this point, it was becoming redundant, but she offered me a one-sided open marriage with access to all of her resources, including marriage counseling. I told her no, but I did say that it would help her regain some of my respect. She also said she would tell the fair partner's wife and everyone else. I told her I didn't believe her. I informed her about my conversations with Monica and explained that I was on the fence about being in an open relationship for fear of hurting her or anyone else the way she hurt me. I also made it clear that I didn't want to be her jailer, either. Constantly spying on her or being suspicious doesn't make for a healthy relationship. I'm not interested in intimacy unless there's a deeper connection. Sex without a deeper connection is meaningless to me. If I need mechanical release, I can. We had been out for over 5 hours, and my wife's sobs had ranged from terrible to horrific. We decided we wouldn't go any further. I told her she had killed my love for her, that I no longer recognized her, and that our family had perished because of her. I told her that she couldn't undo what she had done, and that the only way to prevent this outcome was to never have started the divorce. I had an affair 7 months ago, and I didn't want her to get married again. I also didn't want any more pain, so I suggested we take a break from each other for a while to get some perspective. I broke the news to her that I had already filed for divorce and that I had made up my mind. We could begin family therapy to co-parent, but other than that, I don't want to see her. It was really painful to tell her this, and she was crying and muttering something like, "Please, no, 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 no." As I walked away, she reached for me. I was able to seize her just in time to prevent her from collapsing. I escorted her and her sister to the emergency room and remained until I received word that she was okay. My soon-to-be ex-wife has been abuzz with gossip about her actions over the past 2 days. This morning, her partner's wife called to confirm what my wife had told her. I forwarded her copies of some evidence that I had recently discovered. She wants to meet with me to examine more evidence that she has long suspected but has not found. I proposed that we go out to dinner tomorrow. I told her that maybe we could talk on the phone later because I'm not sure I can handle it right now. I'll admit that I feel terrible. I haven't slept in days, and my resolve is starting to crumble. I know I should be strong, but it's so hard. Why am I so guilty? Why do I feel responsible for trying to fix this? We can fool ourselves for a while, but it won't work in the end. Some of her relatives and friends have been calling and cursing at her. It seems like everyone is trying to convince me to give her another chance. But I'm not interested in prolonging the pain. I just want this to end so we can start healing and building our new lives. Nothing spectacular, no resolution, no peace, just more pain for everyone. My mind is in a dark place right now, and I don't know what to do. Thomas J. made a closing comment. I've always thought of marriage as a vase. Each of you is building it, adding parts, and decorating it until it's complete. I suggest you start a new chapter in your life with someone else. My sister's infidelity caused me to have a midlife crisis and keep dwelling on the subject even after we were married. Your ex-wife threw it to the ground and is now trying to pick up the pieces and rebuild it, but some of the pieces will never be found. Once you've left, she may try to show you that she's rebuilding the vase, but there will be cracks everywhere and touching it will cause a cut. I suggest you start anew with a new partner. I'm really sorry that this happened to you. Her family isn't worth it, and I can tell that she and her sister are cheaters who are crying over the loss of their partners for life. Don't give in. You are the reward, and she will always be looking for it. Now is the time to rebuild your self-esteem. Exercise, trust me, or you'll gain 5 kilograms. Find a new hobby and go for walks while wearing a safety goggles, alcohol, and a mask. You're already showing your kids the right path by showing them that infidelity is never acceptable and that they should always demand more respect when they're the ones who cheat on them. Glass was used to make it,